The Nikon D3200 and the Canon 650D are entry-level cameras that were announced in 2012, with just a month and some days apart. Both cameras were claimed to be a step up to previous amateur DSLRs by both brands. The D3200's body is made of mixed plastic and steel, while the 650D's body is composed of stainless steel and polycarbonate resin with glass fiber. The use of plastic in the Nikon D3200 accounts to a large extent for its lighter weight. Looking at both cameras, one can easily see that the D3200 is smaller than the 650D. The Nikon D3200 can be obtained in black and red body colors, while the Canon 650D, like most of Canon cameras, come with black body color only. Both cameras do not have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. However, they share ports like HDMI port, USB ports, and microphone ports that allow for wired connection to other devices. When it comes to imaging, the Nikon camera surpasses the Canon camera. It has a higher sensor resolution, a larger sensor, and better sensor performance. Apart from imaging, the Nikon D3200 can be relied upon to last for longer shooting periods thanks to its better battery life. Although both cameras sport the same screen size, the Canon 650D's screen trumps that of the D3200. The screen resolution is higher, and it has an articulating and touch screen feature that the Nikon D3200 lacks. It's a close call between both cameras, and we are not surprised. The final decision will come down to user preference concerning certain features. Price-value ratio for Nikon D3200 versus Canon 650D. Do these cameras offer adequate value for their prices? The answer is yes. The prices of both cameras are within the range of many entry-level cameras. Besides, the imaging of the Nikon D3200 and the features possessed by the Canon 650D is top-notch when compared to many other amateur DSLR cameras. What situation is each best for? For Nikon D3200, this is what you get. Details, details and more details. That's what portrait photography is about. A camera with a large sensor and high sensor resolution provides this. The D3200 fits this description better when compared with the 650D. Focus and exposure are required when shooting sports photography. Also, your battery life must last long because sports photographers use the burst mode a lot and it consumes battery faster. The Nikon D3200 is more suited for this kind of photography as it has more focus points, better low light ISO, and longer battery life. Daily photographers move around a lot in their line of work. Therefore, they go for cameras that will make the job lesser of a burden. Hence, lighter weight cameras are the obvious picks for this group of photographers. The D3200 is lighter and even smaller, which means it can be carried about easily than the Canon 650D. Just like portrait photography, landscape photography thrives on details as well. You already know which camera wins it here, the Nikon D3200. Both cameras do well in the flash department, however, the D3200 does better. It has a flash sync port which is missing in the 650D. This gives it an edge when used for studio and flash photography. For Canon 650D Rebel T4i, capturing street photography is difficult without an articulating screen. This is because it involves capturing difficult angles that a fixed screen cannot easily allow. Therefore, the Canon 650D with its articulating screen offers street photographers the shooting flexibility option they desperately need. The 650D doesn't perform as well as the Nikon D3200. Some folks who like having a large camera in their hands might still prefer the 650D. The 650D doesn't perform as well as the Nikon D3200. The 650D doesn't perform as well as the Nikon D3200. Common features for Nikon D3200 versus Canon 650D. It is quite common to see cameras within the same level sporting common features. Therefore, this section discusses these common features in detail. 1. Sensor format and type. A feature that holds a prominent place in cameras is the sensor, and the reason is not far-fetched. The sensor plays a major role in determining the final image quality produced by a camera. The sensor traps in light into the camera that will be used for image production. Its function is vital as light is a necessity when it comes to image production in cameras. Therefore, the format and type of sensor used in a camera is a big deal. The sensor format deals with the sensor's size while sensor type talks about the technology employed to make the sensor. In both regards mentioned above, the cameras in this article are the same. They sport the same APS-C sensor format and CMOS sensor type. The APS-C sensor format, which is known as the DX format by Nikon, is regarded as medium-sized when compared to other sensor formats. Therefore, the image quality produced by this sensor format is adequate for both cameras based on their category and level. Sensor format size plays a significant role in the production of a quality image, which we discuss later on. The CMOS complementary metal oxide semiconductors sensor type used by both cameras offer them significant benefits. This type of sensor is not expensive to manufacture, hence, these cameras can be sold at affordable prices. Furthermore, they do not consume battery like the CCD charge-coupled device sensors. 2. Viewfinder. Another feature shared by these cameras is the viewfinder. Both cameras are fitted with an optical pentamirror viewfinder. A viewfinder's sole function in the camera is to enable the user frame and control his shots. When this is done right, the subjects captured will be within the frame. There are two types of viewfinders. We have the optical viewfinder and the electronic viewfinder, aka digital viewfinder. Since these cameras make use of the former, what benefits do they get from it? Using an optical viewfinder saves the battery power of these cameras. An optical viewfinder, unlike the electronic viewfinder, does not require power to function. There are also two materials used to make an optical viewfinder. They are the pentamirror and the pentaprism. The use of the pentamirror puts these cameras at a disadvantage. Of the two materials, the pentaprism allows more light to pass into the viewfinder. Therefore, pentaprism viewfinders display brighter images than pentamirror viewfinders. It is important to mention though that the pentamirror is used for most entry-level cameras. Both cameras' viewfinders have 95% coverage and 0.53 magnification. The coverage determines the viewfinder's field of view while the magnification deals with how large the images seen through the viewfinder are. 3. Screen size. Although the viewfinder is used for framing purposes, the camera's screen can still be used. Many do not encourage this though, as it is not efficient. One thing that determines its efficiency is its size. Smaller screens mean what is displayed will be smaller. Hence, viewing images and reading the menu becomes stressful. The Nikon D3200 and the Canon 650D, however, possess 3 inches LCD screen. This is deemed big enough to enable one view menu and captured images confidently. 4. Video recording. You get to capture pictures and videos with these cameras. They both possess a maximum video resolution of 1920 by 1080. This resolution is also shot at a video frame rate of 1080 30ths. The D3200 and the 650D capture in H.264 video format. The slight difference is that their second video format options are different. The Nikon D3200 can also record video in motion JPEG while the Canon 650D can record video in MPEG-4. The motion JPEG and the MPEG-4 are almost similar, however, the former can be easily edited. 5. Built-in flash. We mentioned earlier that light is important for image production. If the lighting condition is poor, the image quality will be poor. Therefore, many cameras are fitted with a built-in flash feature. This is used to illuminate the subject about to be captured and its surrounding. The cameras in focus also possess this feature. Apart from this important function, this feature allows one to do without an external flash in some situations. Therefore, one does not have to constantly be with an external flash, which adds significantly to the camera's overall weight. 6. Hot shoe. The hot shoe is a feature that is found on these cameras. It allows certain accessories like the external flash to be attached to a camera. It is found at the top of the camera. The frequent use of the external flash with the hot shoe has caused many to refer to this feature as the external flash shoe. There are certain situations whereby an external flash cannot be done without. This includes situations where much flash power is required. It is common knowledge that built-in flashes don't have sufficient flash power. Flexibility options is another reason an external flash is more preferred. The fixed position of the built-in flash does not allow one to bounce the light off walls. This can be done when using an external flash. Furthermore, since the position is fixed, the built-in flash causes a red eye effect. An external flash can avoid this thanks to its flexibility. An external flash that will offer you all the advantages mentioned above is the Neewer TT560 flash speedlight. 7. Microphone port. The Nikon D3200 and the Canon 650D both possess a microphone port. This handy feature is useful during video recording. The microphone port allows one to connect an external microphone to the camera. An external microphone records better audio than the built-in microphones found in many cameras. 8. HDMI port. Another port sported by these cameras is the HDMI port. With the mini HDMI port found in both cameras, one can connect an external screen to these cameras. With an HDMI cable serving as the connector between the camera and the screen, images on the camera's screen can be viewed on the larger screen. Viewing images, watching videos, going through the menu, and even editing can be easily achieved with the larger screen that has been connected. If you want to buy a larger screen that will be compatible with these cameras, allow us to recommend the ESDDI 5-inch camera field monitor. 9. USB port. Both cameras are pretty similar when it comes to possession of ports needed for wired connectivity. The USB port is another of such. These cameras are fitted with USB 2.0 ports. With these ports, these cameras can connect to other devices such as laptops with the aid of a USB cable. File transfer can then be executed at a speed of 480 megabits per second from the camera to the device and vice versa. 10. Storage. The Nikon D3200 and the Canon 650D do not have an internal storage memory. Instead, they are fitted with a single card slot storage. The storage slots in these cameras are designed to house SD, SDHC, and SDXC cards. Possessing this feature is consistent with their camera level, while some higher-level cameras have dual card slot storage. Dual card slot storage offers more space, storage flexibility and options. Nikon D3200 unique features. 1. Flash sync port. Although both cameras share similarities when it comes to possession of ports, the flash sync port is not found in both. The Nikon D3200 has this feature while the Canon 650D does not. The flash sync port is used to connect to an off-camera flash or several flashes with the use of a cable. When the shutter button is pressed, a signal is sent which lights up the connected flashes. These flashes can be put at different positions around the shooting location. Hence, the flash sync port gives the D3200 an edge over the 650D when it comes to flash and studio photography. 2. Nikon F lens mount. A lens mount is a feature that attaches the lens to the camera as it holds the lens in place. Nikon and Canon cameras possess lens mount, however, the type used is where the difference is. This is because both cameras make use of exclusive lens mount for their cameras. The Nikon company uses the Nikon F lens mount for many of its cameras including the Nikon D3200. The lens mount determines the type and number of lenses a camera can make use of. Canon 650D unique features. 1. Articulating screen. While the screen of the D3200 is fixed, the Canon 650D possesses an articulating screen. What this simply means is that its display screen can be tilted, turned, swiveled and rotated. This screen grants the 650D's user flexibility options. This is employed while shooting difficult angles. It is also used for watching movies. Vloggers prefer cameras with this type of screen because it makes their video recording easier. It is also selfie-friendly, which means it can be used to take selfies. 2. Touchscreen. The touchscreen feature is one we are familiar with thanks to our smartphones. As we all can testify, this feature makes operating our phones much easier and convenient. This is extended to cameras that possess this feature like the Canon 650D. The 650D is the first DSLR camera equipped with the touchscreen feature. We don't mean first from Canon, we mean from any manufacturer. That is saying a lot about this camera. Camera controls, as well as shooting, can be controlled by tapping, pinching or swiping the screen. 3. On-sensor phase detection. The Canon 650D has the on-sensor phase detection feature. This allows the camera to acquire fast and precise autofocus while operating in live view mode. It enhances the autofocus ability of the camera. 4. Canon EF/EFS lens mount. The Canon EF/EFS lens mount is the exclusive lens mount used by Canon cameras including the Canon 650D. 5. DIGIC5 image processor. The image processor found in the 650D is the DIGIC5 image processor. The Canon 650D is the first entry-level Canon DSLR camera that was fitted with this image processor. It is responsible for the camera's improved continuous shooting speed when compared with its predecessor, the Canon 600D. Nikon D3200 Unique Pros. 1. Higher sensor resolution. Sensor resolution is the measure of the sensor's ability to detect and capture details. It is measured in megapixels, which is why some folks refer to the sensor resolution as megapixels. The higher the sensor resolution, the more detailed your image will be. Therefore, many prefer a camera that has a higher sensor resolution. Comparing both cameras in focus, we discover that the Nikon D3200 has a sensor resolution of 24.2 megapixels. The Canon 650D, on the other hand, has 18.0 megapixels. The difference of 6.2 (33%) megapixels means the former will deliver better detailed images. Apart from that, higher sensor resolution gives you the liberty to crop images and print out larger images without grain or blur occurring. As much as the sensor resolution plays a major role in determining detailed images, it is not the only factor involved. To get a high-quality picture, lens used, lighting condition and other factors must be at the finest level. If the lens is bad, for example, no matter how good your sensor resolution is, the image quality will be bad. 2. Smaller pixel pitch. Pixel pitch refers to the distance between the center of one pixel to the center of another. The smaller the pixel pitch, the higher the sensor resolution. A pixel pitch of 3.85 micrometers versus 4.31 micrometers is what we get when we compare the pixel pitch of the D3200 versus the 650D respectively. 3. Larger sensor. The sensor size is another major factor responsible for determining image quality. The larger the sensor, the higher the amount of light the sensor can capture. More light equals a brighter and clearer image, which in turn results in quality image production. Furthermore, a larger sensor detects more details than a smaller sensor. It also offers better low light sensitivity, color depth, individual pixels, dynamic range, and depth of field control. Although both cameras have the same sensor format, the Nikon D3200's sensor is larger. Which means it has the advantage in this regard. Its sensor measures 23.2 by 15.4 mm while the Canon 650D has a sensor size of 22.3 by 14.9 mm. This difference in size accounts for the difference in format factors of both sensors. The D3200 and the Canon 650D have a format factor of 1.5 and 1.6 respectively. Their native aspect ratio is the same at 3:2. 3. Better sensor performance. The sensor performance of a camera is used to determine how efficient the sensor is. The DxO Mark company is responsible for testing cameras and releasing their sensor performance results. Both cameras were tested and the Nikon D3200 had an overall score of 81 while the Canon 650D scored 62. This result is an aggregate of these cameras' color depth, dynamic range, and low light ISO. How did these cameras perform in these three sensor measurements? The color depth measures the sensor's sensitivity in detecting and producing distinct and detailed colors. It is measured in bits and is also known as the DxO portrait. This is because it impacts the image quality of a portrait image. The results for both cameras' color depth are 24.1 bits for the D3200 and 21.7 bits for the 650D. With 2.4 bits more color depth, the Nikon D3200 will produce more distinct colors in its images. The dynamic range measures the sensor's sensitivity in detecting details between the brightest and darkest point within a frame. It is also known as the DxO landscape because it impacts the image quality of a landscape image. The results for both cameras' dynamic range are 13.2 for the D3200 and 11.2 for the 650D. The former, therefore, has a 2.0 wider dynamic range. Lastly, the low light ISO measures the sensor's sensitivity in low light conditions. It is also known as DxO Sports because it impacts the image quality of an image captured during sports events. The results for both cameras' low light ISO are 1131 for the D3200 and 722 for the 650D. The Nikon D3200 does better with 0.6 stops more. 4. Focus points. Focus points are points within the frame wherein more focus can be placed upon. These points are seen through the viewfinder or on the display screen. The more focus points possessed by a camera, the more points available wherein the user can enhance his/her focus. The result of focusing is better detailed images. The Nikon D3200 and the Canon 650D both possess focus points of 11 and 9 respectively. Hence, the D3200 has 2 more focus points than the 650D. 5. Longer battery life. The Nikon D3200 is fitted with an NEL14 power pack battery while the Canon 650D uses an LPE8 battery. The Nikon camera can shoot 540 shots due to this while the Canon camera manages 440 shots. This is the number of shots both cameras can make after a single full charge. With this, we discover that the D3200 can shoot 100 shots more than the 650D. Battery longevity is an important factor when choosing a camera. If your photography requires shooting for extended periods, a battery with longer longevity is better recommended. 6. Cheaper. Comparing the launch prices of both cameras, the Nikon D3200 was found to be 29% cheaper than the Canon 650D. Price is an important factor to consider when choosing a camera. It determines if you purchase a camera or not. We recommend the D3200 for those on a tight budget. 7. Lighter weight. How heavy a camera is must also be considered when choosing a camera. Although the weight preference depends on individuals as some like their cameras heavy while others like it light. However, it is proven that a lightweight camera that delivers quality imaging is the obvious pick any day, anytime. It is to this end that the Nikon D3200 has the win here as it is 70 grams 12% lighter than the Canon 650D. The former weighs 505 grams while the latter weighs 575 grams. If you have enjoyed this video, click on the subscribe button below to get notifications when we post a new video. Also drop a comment below so we can know your thoughts. Finally, don't forget to check the description below for more details and visit our site, www.camerasindepth.com for more awesome camera content like this.